in this video, I'm going to carry on from where I left off, looking at this mother, Diane's response to criticism of her last video. You'll see a link to it under this video. Again, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video as being a narcissist. Not that that is a diagnosis of any kind.
As a reminder, my daughter went no contact, and she talked about that on her TikTok account a year and a half ago. Per her wishes, I have not attempted to contact her for the last year and a half, so I can't reach out for her side, or I would be crossing boundaries, which means I don't know what she's thinking, because I'm not a mind reader.
Her daughter wrote what she described as an angry email explaining why she was going no contact. So she says she's not a mind reader, but she doesn't need to be a mind reader because she has the email from her daughter. It again does not occur to her that there might be some sense within her daughter's email. I think that she's decided already that she needs to just completely ignore it, or at least that we all need to believe that nothing in her daughter's email is relevant. And so the only way she can find out any information would be to ask her daughter or to mind read her. It's just like another brick wall. She thinks, well, I'm not going to read it out loud to you all because that's not fair for my daughter's privacy. That's me respecting her boundaries. But she wouldn't need to do that. She could summarise the main points her daughter has in her letter. She could just say the key behaviours. You know, my daughter says I've gaslit her, I've guilt-tripped her, I've manipulated her in this way, and this way. I was too punishing of her. I would give her the silent treatment. You know, whatever all these things are, she could just tell us. And I just find it very hard to believe that it's her daughter's privacy that is stopping her from doing that.
And by the way, that original video was not a documentary.
I think when she says this, she's thinking of one type of documentary where you might hear both sides. She's kind of ignoring most documentaries, actually. So it took me a while to really understand her point there. But she's saying, well, this isn't a documentary, so I don't have to give both sides. I can just give my side. That's true when it doesn't involve another person. But if you're slating another person to the public and the public have no way of seeing anything of that person, they can't make any kind of assessment themselves, then how is that fair? But again, she doesn't see that because she doesn't empathise with the person she's doing a smear campaign on.
And we really don't care how she dresses or who she votes for or who she sleeps with or whatever. So long as everything is legal between consenting adults, we don't have a problem with it. We're actually okay with alternative lifestyles. And it's your life if you're living that life. You know, just enjoy it, but don't jam it down everybody else's throat. That's too much.
So she's clearly not okay with an alternative lifestyle. And what does jamming it down everyone's throats involve? Does that mean that they're having sex in public? Because I think that's pretty unlikely. And that's really the only thing I can think of that would make somebody say that if they're a reasonable, open-minded person. The more I hear from this lady, the more I think her daughter made the right choice. It makes me sad to think of what she must have gone through growing up if she is gay or bi and her mum is homophobic. You know, how deeply painful that would be, how you would feel like you're not accepted. You're not really loved for who you are. Throughout this video, she's responding to the comments people have made, you know, problems people have had with her last video. And I think each time she does it, with each example she uses, she thinks she's putting people straight, when actually she's just digging herself deeper, much deeper.
Number 2, her ADHD autism diagnosis. There were some who seemed horrified that we outed or appeared to out her diagnosis. I didn't make this clear in the video, but we learned about that diagnosis from her TikTok account.
She thinks people are horrified by her giving us her daughter's diagnoses in her last video because it's supposed to be kept secret from the public and nobody should know that her daughter has autism or ADHD. That's what she's taken people's horror to mean. So she thinks that if she explains to us that she only learnt about the diagnoses through her daughter's videos, we're all going to feel fine. I think it was made very clear that that's how she found out. And it doesn't help. That was her daughter telling people, I want you to know this, on her terms, on her channel. And this is somebody who's highly critical of her daughter, and she's telling us that maybe that's why her daughter has behaved as she had.
We also learned that she's been diagnosed with ADHD and high-functioning autism, which was news to us. Maybe that explains some of her behavior.
So when we hear the diagnoses within that context, it feels really violating. We know instinctively that it's wrong. She doesn't get that, and I think the reason she doesn't get it is because she doesn't empathise with her daughter. And I think this goes on throughout this video she's made, is because of her lack of empathy, she can't see any problem with any of these things.
But we learned about that diagnosis from her TikTok account. It's one of the prominent themes of her channel, and no, I will not disclose what it is.
By telling us that she learnt this in her video, and by now reaffirming that, she's just giving us another way to find her daughter on TikTok. There's lots of clues in her videos about her daughter, and now here's another one.
It's one of the prominent themes of her channel.
She probably doesn't want people to know, because now she might get all the trolls I've been getting from all of this lady's followers. Why is she going to want that?
We also know from what she shares there that going no contact was one of the worst days of her life. So yes, we understand that it was a very serious, painful decision for her to make. I'm sure she needed the space because she hates conflict. So for her to make this choice, I know it's serious.
So that shows how much her daughter does care, that this was not a flippant decision. It wouldn't matter quite so much that she was making it easy for us to connect her with her daughter if she'd spoken about her respectfully throughout her last video. But notice this is the first time she's actually admitting to the kind of person her daughter actually is by saying this was the worst day of her daughter's life and by talking about how she hates conflict. So she has these moments of knowing that. At those points, I think she's feeling rejected and wanting her daughter to reach out and accept her and feel sorry for her, because that's the way that they might connect, is her daughter feeling regretful and guilty and concerned for her poor mum. On another video, she talked about how she loves editing her videos. So she put that violin music in to evoke all of these emotions in her viewers, so that they would really sympathise with her. Because even in those moments when she's viewing her daughter as this kind person, she's not empathising with her daughter. Even then, there's no sign of it, at least. I think what's happening then is she's just thinking, well, what can I get out of my daughter then? If this was the worst day of her life, if she is kind, if she hates conflict, and this is all genuine, then how do I get her to meet my needs? And that can happen with a narcissist, that they have these moments of seeing you as you really are without projecting onto you. They can see your good intentions. But when they do, they use that for their benefit. So seeing you as you are does not help to create empathy in them. Then they'll think, oh, well, that's good. So if I do this thing, that's a way to get more out of her or him.
We also know from what she shares there that going no contact was one of the worst days of her life.
How easy is it now going to be to find that video? We know she does cosplay. We know she made this video about cutting contact with her mum. We know that in that video she says it was the worst day of her life. We know she's got a diagnosis of autism and a diagnosis of ADHD. that, you know, we have an idea of what she looks like, we know her first name. So there's so many things now that could help people find her daughter. It's like a sort of treasure hunt. She hasn't given her surname away within this last video or this video. People can easily find out, and I think that she would like it if people got in touch with her daughter and said to her, hey, come on, speak to your poor mum, and pointed her to that video, because she clearly wants her daughter to see the last video. She's said that.
Your assumptions that my husband and I engaged in zero introspection or take zero responsibility for this relationship because we didn't choose to share all the details with the entire freaking internet, that is 100% faulty thinking. Yes, we did extensively examine everything we did like most parents would. We know we're not perfect. We have some ideas, but you don't need to know all the details.
So she is prepared to show us how damaging her daughter leaving has been for her, and what a terrible time she's had trying to cope with it, and how uncaring her daughter is. But she's decided we don't need to know about why her daughter's gone. Why don't we need to know that? The only reason I can imagine is that that wouldn't feel very nice for her, because she thinks she's going to get judged. She thinks she'll be criticised. Instead, she wants to make a video judging and criticising somebody else so that we'll all feel sorry for her. She implied her daughter didn't have any kind of reason for cutting contact. She implied that by saying it was 90% political, by having her daughter's voice represented by a very childlike voice that's speaking over itself so that we don't ever hear anything in a coherent way.
I stand for about what I need to know how you're feeling, my mental health.
And that implies that we don't need to hear it because it's all just a load of rubbish. Another way that she's implied it is by saying that she needed to read a book to try to find out why her daughter would behave like this. Given that her video is full of these implications, we, the viewer, would like to hear some of the other side. You know, whenever I make a video, we see what somebody says or what they write, and then I give my point of view about the things they're saying and the ways in which they're behaving. You can decide for yourself. What do you think? You can see the behavior I'm talking about. You can see what she says. How do you take that? Do you think I'm getting it wrong? Do you think I might be right? You can make an informed decision. But if I said to you, by the way, there's this lady, I'm not gonna tell you anything she actually says, but I just want you to know that she's so uncaring. It's just like some gossip. Here's some gossip about my horrible daughter. That's really all you've got. It's not constructive in any way. We just have the mum. You know, so, and it makes me laugh because, again, she's so clueless as to why that would be any kind of a problem. Why would people complain about that? After all, this is YouTube. And so she's allowed to talk about her experiences. It seems that just to make the edit more interesting, she included the words gaslit and guilt-tripped. Because she never talks about them afterwards, I think that shows us that she thinks they're completely irrelevant. Because if she realised that they were going to be taken seriously, I think she would have either said something about them or not included them in the first place, which I think would have been more likely. But she assumes we're all going to dismiss that as well. And yet, throughout the video, she's showing us how much she gaslights and guilt trips her daughter. If she gave us an idea of why her daughter cut contact, then her last video would have been completely different. This is what I think, is in her mind, that she couldn't do that because if she did that, she couldn't guarantee everyone would be on her side. Now, as it turns out, that's obviously completely backfired because the fact she doesn't do it, that is a big red flag. It means it's harder to trust her. And then that, along with all of these other little red flags, or maybe I should say big red flags, throughout her video, it makes it quite evident what's really been going on and the way her mum sees things and why someone might want to escape that. If she wanted to know why her daughter had left, I think she would have talked about why her daughter said she left. I think what she wanted from making that video was sympathy, understanding, and to start a business. You know, to have other people say, yeah, I'm going through that too. And that would be the beginning of the business. And I say that because she has started a business from it. You know, she's charging people just to join a community. And she's also got 3 other YouTube channels that all appeared to be starting different kinds of businesses.
And are honestly a little confused about being cut off because the reasons we're being given seem kind of weak. The no contact punishment power move here seems to far outweigh the level of alleged wrongdoing.
So her daughter intends to make her feel bad, and that is the reason her daughter has run away, you know, has cut contact. Her daughter wants her mum to feel horrible feelings and herself to feel really powerful as a result of punishing her mum. And how does that go together with the idea that her daughter had the worst day of her life when she cut contact with her parents? How does that work? And that her daughter hates conflict. If she liked conflict, if she really enjoyed creating drama, if she just wanted to feel really powerful by cutting out her parents, then wouldn't she come back for a reaction? Because that would all be a game, wouldn't it? She'd have to be there and just keep winding them up and being nasty and, you know, giving digs at them and maybe telling the public about how awful they are in the way her mum's been doing to her. I want to see you begging, you know, for me to stick around. I want to see you crying and hurting and feeling terrible. A narcissist behaves like that. They need to do that in order to feel that power. Because if they don't do that, they feel powerless. It's like one extreme to the other. But in order to get that power, or as we call it, narcissistic supply, they need to be able to witness the other person's reaction. What about the fact that her daughter hasn't actually been in touch since? Instead, she hates conflict. So you could say she's a peace lover and she has had to get away from her mum. So that says everything about her mum. But even when her mum tells us that, I don't think she sees it. Because if she did, I don't think she would have shared that information with us. She's instead, I believe, projecting onto her daughter that her daughter is manipulative, that she's playing games, that she's uncaring. This is something I talked about in my last video, how a narcissist can believe that they're being punished and so they lash out. If you think about it, it gives you a good excuse to abuse somebody if you've decided that they have bad intentions towards you. I think that with a narcissist, they decide that somebody is punishing them, even though they might know that that's not in that person's nature. In the moment they project. When you're in a situation like this with somebody who is conducting, for example, a smear campaign about you, you might think, well, if I have a chat with them and really make myself clear and they understand my true intentions, then all of this will stop. It's unlikely to happen because they want you to be the abuser. They want you to have the bad intentions they've assigned to you, because that makes life much easier for them. If you explain that you don't have those intentions, it immediately suggests in their mind that they're the bad guy, and so they have to lash out again. So I think it's a mixture of believing that her daughter really is punishing her and really is on this power trip, and consciously deciding to see it that way. Because as soon as she considers the other way of seeing things, what she might have done that hurt her daughter and how her daughter hates conflict and all of the things that support the idea that her daughter isn't punishing her, she shuts them down. And as soon as her viewers empathise with her daughter, she shuts them down.
I was still low-level bitter and resentful over being ghosted.
Ghosting someone as a way of punishing them and as a way of being on a power trip is something that an abuser can do when they want to see that person forget all of their own needs and put them first. So for instance, if they've been really abusive and then suddenly left the relationship and not been in contact with no explanation, then the other person might forget the pain they're in and how unfair it's been that they were treated that way and just fixate on the abuser, so that when they come back, their victim is going to cling to them and just be so grateful that they're back and have missed them so much, and it's going to be such a relief. And so that's going to feel very empowering. I mean, that's a lot of narcissistic supply for the abuser, because they can see, wow, I can treat this person like crap, and when I come back, I've completely got away with it because I matter more than their feelings and them, even to them. That's how special I am. But the thing is, this is all a fantasy in the mother's eyes, this idea that her daughter is the abuser. Because for one thing, as I said in my other video about this, she didn't ghost her mum. She explained why. She told her, this is affecting my mental health because it hurts so much. So how is that a punishment? And how is that a power game or a power move? It's her protecting her mental health. And that's why I think she's projecting onto her daughter. I mean, the way that she thinks that her daughter has this new form of narcissistic supply, because she tells us that she's swapped us for her fans.
And we discovered her TikTok, which I have to confess was strange and difficult to digest because she does a lot of exotic cosplay. And I couldn't help myself. I binge watched a bunch of them, then combed through all the comments looking for any mention of us. We have been replaced by fans.
Because this is what she's done. She's been very upset. She's felt very rejected. And so she's created this whole almost film of what she's gone through, along with all the violin music, in order to provoke a reaction from her audience so that they will all feel terribly sorry for her. And not only has she done that, but she's created a smear campaign. I think that last video shows us that she wants us to be left with a view that her daughter is unreasonable and that her daughter doesn't care about her. And even when her mother doesn't directly say that her daughter doesn't care, she implies it. So you don't have to badmouth someone in an obvious, blatant way. You can do it by manipulating people to see somebody in that way. That's still a smear campaign. So together, the reaction she wants to the smear campaign and the reaction she wants to her state of mind and what she's had to go through, that is narcissistic supply. That's people saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you. Your daughter's awful. How could she treat you like that? So you can see how it could kind of perpetuate this way of behaving for the mum, that she doesn't have to empathize with somebody because they're an abuser. She can just protect herself by explaining to us how mean this person is and how unfair it's been and how horrible her life's been. That complete lack of desire to put herself in her daughter's shoes shows itself all the way through. And so there's a whole layer of information that's completely missing to her because she's not doing that. I think that the mother is only thinking in terms of that she's being told off. A narcissist will think that they're being told off when someone explains to them that something has hurt. They can't empathize with the other person. They're just caught up in defending themselves because they think they're the victim. They think they're being treated really unfairly and they have to defend and protect themselves. And the best way to do that is to argue, with the other person and tell them they've got it wrong. And it's the very fact that that's how they respond that shows us they're not empathizing with the other person. And it seems to me that it's easier for her mother to believe that this is all a game, because if it's all a game, then it's not real. If her daughter is unfairly punishing her, then there's nothing she as a mother can do about that. She's completely helpless. She's at the mercy of this daughter who's being really just mean and unfair. And that's much easier for her than having to look at those things that she's so ashamed of, she doesn't want to tell us about them, that she may have done that upset her daughter. So it's interesting, isn't it, how this video shows us how conflicted the mum's mind actually is, because she's got things that are real and things that aren't real, and all the way through they kind of intertwine, and she just makes sense of them all in order to cope. And I think to some degree we all do that. The fact that, for example, we are all going to die. We don't think about the end. A narcissist takes this to a whole other level. It's really important to them to continually alter reality so that it matches their fantasy, which promotes them as this special, great person.
And for those of you who think we shouldn't be looking at her TikTok, invading her social media space, we don't go very often, but hello, it's the internet. It's public content, so there is no invasion.
I'm imagining how she sees her viewers as just such idiots that they don't know that. And yet she's completely missing the point. The fact that she can access her daughter's videos, that only means that her daughter can't stop her. Her daughter didn't put those videos out so her mum would find them. What comes to mind when I think about that is a stalker, somebody standing outside someone else's house, staring up at their window, you know, and they just do this every night. And then they're told maybe by the police eventually that this is not okay, and they say, but why not? I'm outside on the pavement. Everyone's allowed to walk up and down here. What's wrong with me doing this? Are you idiots? You know, if they're anything like this woman, they would think the police are completely stupid, that they don't understand the pavement is a public place. But we, the viewers, can see what's staring us all right in the face. That she has gone to her daughter's TikTok channel after her daughter has cut contact and said she doesn't want any more because it's hurt her so deeply and it's affecting her mental health. And then her mum makes a video for everyone to see and tells everyone about her daughter's TikTok channel and how she's been watching her videos. So her daughter is going to probably find out, probably has found out, that her mum has been watching her channel. Now, all of the judgment from her mum that's been going on all her life, that's pretty evident because it comes across in her last video so much, that's going to be, I would guess, in her head when she's making TikTok videos now. She's going to know that somebody very, very critical of her is watching everything she says. So that's going to affect her. That's the whole reason she tried to get away. She can't have her own private space because her mum doesn't respect her boundaries at all. And here she is thinking that she really does respect her boundaries because she hasn't read her email out to the public. And yet, and every time her mum speaks to us like we're really stupid, she's actually just making it clearer and clearer how ignorant she is of other people's boundaries and just of how to have respect for other people.
Hello, it's the internet. It's public content, so there is no invasion.
My courses started last week and it's not too late to join. You can watch recordings of the first class and the Q&A. If you're interested in looking for more information, go to www.sanitysaved.com. Please let me know in the comment section what you want me to make a video about next. I have had some video requests, so I'm going to be looking at those. Please keep sending them in. If I don't reply, it's just because I get tons of emails, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to read it. So if you have an idea and you want me to make a video about it, please tell me. The more people who ask about one particular subject, the more likely I'm going to make a video about it, because then I'll think, oh, right, there's loads of people who are going to be interested in this topic. So, you know, so don't think just because somebody else has asked for it, there's no point in you bothering to. So I hope that helps. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
There she is. There's Amelia. You fit very well, don't you, darling?